Hello, this is Tony Heller from RealClimateScience.com, setting the record straight about climate. Congress has awarded the National Oceanic and Atmospheric Administration millions of dollars in order to find ways to pollute the atmosphere. The idea is that if they pollute the atmosphere, they will block sunlight and stop global warming. The top climate change scientist for NOAA said he has received $4 million from Congress and permission from his agency to study two emergency and controversial methods to cool the Earth if the U.S. and other nations fail to reduce global greenhouse gas emissions. David Fahey, director of the Chemical Sciences Division of NOAA's Earth System Research Laboratory, told the staff yesterday that the federal government is ready to examine the science behind geoengineering, or what he dubbed a Plan B for climate change. Fahey said he's received backing to explore two approaches. One is to inject sulfur dioxide or a similar aerosol into the stratosphere to help shade the Earth from more intense sunlight. It's patterned after a natural solution, volcanic eruptions, which have been found to cool the Earth by emitting huge clouds of sulfur dioxide. This plan is modeled after the 1815 eruption of Mount Tambora, which caused 3 years of worldwide climate change, widespread crop failure, and starvation all from Asia to the United States to Europe. So Congress just funded a plan which could cause widespread crop failure and starvation all around the world. This week last year, Illinois set their all-time coldest temperature, and climate scientists blamed the record cold on global warming. They said that the rapidly warming Arctic could bring about more intense periods of cold snaps and storms. These experts say that we're having more episodes of extreme cold, and they also want to block the sunlight so that it gets even colder. The cold weather makes people much more dependent on having available low-cost energy supplies, and climate alarmists want to make electricity prices skyrocket.
Under my plan of a cap-and-trade system, electricity rates would necessarily skyrocket.
So climate alarmists want to make it colder, and they also want to make the energy which people depend on to survive unaffordable. But as is always the case, this story gets worse. Climate alarmists want us to be dependent on solar-powered electricity, and at the same time they want to block out sunlight reaching the Earth. Blocking sunlight will make it more difficult to produce solar-powered electricity. And in the process of making electricity unavailable and unaffordable, they're cutting down millions of trees. In the last 3 years, Korea has cut down 2 million trees to make way for solar panels. And Scotland has cut down nearly 14 million trees to make way for solar panels since the year 2000. Insane geoengineering ideas are nothing new for climate academics. 45 years ago, climatologists wanted to save the planet from global cooling. They proposed melting the Arctic ice cap by covering it with black soot. But there's a much simpler solution to greenhouse gas warming, and that's to get NOAA to stop tampering with the data. Measured U.S. temperature data shows that daily maximum temperatures have been declining for a century. But before NOAA releases the data to the public, they alter it to turn the cooling trend into a warming trend. So NOAA tampers with the data to create imaginary warming, and then they get awarded millions of dollars to study ways to pollute the atmosphere and cool it down. They have a severe conflict of interest. The more fake warming they can create, the more money the agency receives. So they tamper with the data. I fought hard for the Clean Air Act, which removed sulfate pollution from the atmosphere, and now environmental groups are fighting to put it back. All of this insanity was made possible by the Obama administration's CO2 endangerment finding. CO2 is not a pollutant, and the endangerment finding was based entirely on junk science. Warren Buffett said that climate change has not affected Berkshire Hathaway's insurance business, and it has not changed the way it estimates losses. But Munich Re is making record profits through higher premiums by exaggerating the dangers of climate change. Lots of people are making money off the scam, including insurance companies and NOAA. But polluting the atmosphere and making energy unavailable and unaffordable for millions of people around the world is simply not acceptable. Polluting the environment, cutting down trees, and chopping up birds is not a solution for anything. It's pretty incredible that environmental groups are backing it. Visit Toto on the web at realclimatescience.com. He's been pulling back the curtain on junk science and propaganda for a long time.